Just over a month ago, Microsoft informed us that the final version of Windows they'd ever release has now reached the end of its life and has been sunset. It is now unsupported. Thankfully, as long as you backed up all your files somewhere safe, and you have a spare USB memory stick you're willing to format that's at least 8 gig, you can install Linux on your computer instead. That's right, a fully supported and up-to-date operating system that will still work on your computer without ridiculous system requirements. Once you're sure you backed up all your data safely, get a spare USB memory stick that's at least 8 gig and put it into your computer. This guide is made with the assumption that you're currently running Windows. If you're running Mac or something else, get lost, we don't need you here. The first thing we'll need to get you Linux in is putting a Linux installer onto that memory stick you just inserted. Your computer can then use that to install Linux later. The reason for this is because installing Linux formats your primary drive. So you couldn't have the Linux installer on your primary drive. That's why you've got to put it on a memory stick like this. We're going to go and get a piece of software called Rufus to do this. Visit rufus.ie. That's rufus.ie in your web browser's address bar. Now you have to be very careful to avoid all the adverts. Hopefully you have an ad blocker installed. This random Windows install that I was using for this footage didn't. You have to make sure to press the real download button. It's the one that I'm highlighting here, the file in the directory listing right here. Don't click on any of the fake download buttons and get yourself infected with malware. The state of modern advertising is absolutely atrocious, isn't it? And this one, that's also an advert. Don't click that either. You need to click the cross in the corner here. Don't you love the state of Windows-based software download sites? Thankfully with Linux you'll be able to get all your software from safe repositories. You'll never have to see a site like this again, probably. Okay, so you got your memory stick. You got your tool to put things on the memory stick, which is right here in the downloads folder. Now, we need to go and get the Linux that you're going to be putting on the memory stick to install. I'm going to recommend my favourite Linux, Xubuntu, which you can get from xubuntu.org. Hit the download button, and then see here where it says Xubuntu 2510. Currently that's the latest version, released in October 2025, as you can work out from the name. Go down here where it says click to open direct downloads, and then click the closest country to where you live for the fastest download times. You'll be presented with a list of files, but don't panic. There's a trick to this. Sort it by size, and generally the biggest file in this list is the one you want. It says desktop AMD 64, which basically means for normal desktop computers, which is probably what you have if you're running Windows. No matter what the mirror page looks like, it's all the same file. Just click to download the file I've described, and then you wait. You can go make a cup of tea if you want. Okay, it's done. Close whatever you were doing. Show in folder. So now we not only have the memory stick, we have the tool that you're going to use to put the Linux installer on the memory stick, and we have Linux. That's all the parts you need. Your next step is to double-click Rufus to open it. You might get a prompt. Press yes. At this point, I'd make sure that you only have that one USB stick that I mentioned earlier plugged into your computer right now. We're about to format that USB stick, and it's best to just not have any accidents. Make sure that only that USB stick that you're going to be putting the Linux installer on, that you want to format, is plugged in right now. And make sure that it's the one that you select in this list. As you can see here, that USB stick that I inserted earlier was 256 gig. I know that because it says it on it. So I'm going to pick this device knowing that it's the one that I'm about to format and put a Linux installer on. Just make sure you pick the right one. Ideally, don't have anything else plugged in while you're doing this. It's not that this is a risky procedure, it's that everyone makes mistakes, everyone makes accidents, and you'd rather be safe than sorry. Now you'll want to hit the select button right here, and select that ISO file of the Linux that you downloaded. This will tell Rufus that you'd like to put this one onto that drive. Then you'll want to click the start button. Then press OK. Yes if it asks you. And then one final confirmation. Are you sure that that device that you've picked you want to format and use as a Linux install USB exclusively? Hit OK. And Rufus will put a Linux installer onto that USB memory stick. So just wait a while and Rufus will do its job. It'll turn your USB memory stick into a Linux install memory stick. And it's done. Fantastic. Now you're ready to actually boot into the Linux installer. So close Rufus, close Explorer, and go to the Start menu and shut down your computer. You'll need to put this video on a separate device in case you're only watching it on your PC.
Now mash F2, F8, F10, and delete.
What? How
because we don't know which one is
Oh
the
my God.
right BIOS key.
Okay. Hey!
That's right, we need to get into the BIOS. We need to set the boot device to be the USB memory stick that you just put the Linux installer on. Some BIOSes let you select it from a menu, which is quite nice. Some you have to set the priority of the USB stick to be higher than that of your internal boot drive. You can save and apply your BIOS settings with F10 or by clicking the Save and Exit button, by the way. Just thought I'd say that. First you need to figure out what key you need to press to get into the BIOS. On some BIOSes, this is displayed on boot up, as you can see here on mine. So to boot from some random device that I've plugged in, I'd just mash F12 on my particular motherboard. But just do the tried and true methods, you'll find it very quickly. Once you've picked your boot device from the list, or set it to be the first boot device and then rebooted. Oh, and by the way, it might have a different name. It might be named after your memory stick. It might also just be called Ubuntu. You're a smart cookie, you can figure it out. If everything goes well, you should be right here, greeted with a Linux installer starting up. It should get going on its own, but if it doesn't, just press enter on Try or Install Xubuntu. And here we are. Welcome to XFCE. Getting Linux installed from this point couldn't be simpler. And it was the easiest part in the recording process of this video. Simply double click on Install Xubuntu 2510, the icon that you see on the desktop right here, and wait for its remarkably straightforward installer to boot up. Pick your language that you speak, then pick your preferred keyboard layout. Choose your internet connection settings. You'll want to pick an interactive installation here. Not that there's much complexity in it. You just want to go through the regular installer and not use an automated script. Pick the full Xubuntu desktop so you'll have all the packages you need for a regular computing experience. And then you'll want to tick both of these boxes. This is quite important. Ticking both of these boxes means things like your Wi-Fi and your graphics card might actually have a better chance of working than they would if you didn't tick this. It'll mean your games and your internet will work a lot better, and anything else that might require you to install a driver on Windows, or might have a extra step where Windows automatically fetches a driver for you. This is what that is on Linux. Here you'll pick to erase disk and install Xubuntu. This will take the primary disk of your computer, your SSD, hopefully. It will completely format it, deleting all files and the operating system installed on it, and then install Xubuntu in its place. Click Next. This option here lets you encrypt your entire disk with a password, so all your data is secured and a scrambled mess to anyone who looks at it unless they have the password. It can offer increased security, though I'm going to pick no encryption for this machine because it's a virtual machine. And here's something you're probably familiar with. Username and password. This is to identify your user and protect your computer. If you enabled encryption in the previous step, this password is in addition to your encryption password. If not, it's the only password on your account. Now don't worry, this isn't Microsoft. You're only selecting where you live here for a few reasons, and it's very non-specific of a location anyway. This will allow the system to set the time zone so that your clock is correct and accurate, and in addition to that, so it knows where to source packages that you install from and package updates, because the closer the server is to you that you're downloading your package updates from, the quicker the downloads will be. And this final screen before you hit install is just a summary of everything you selected. Might look a little different here than it does on mine, but that's because I'm using a virtual machine and you might have picked some different settings to me. Go ahead and hit install. Sit back, relax, it's installing. Feel free to read the slides that the distro developers put in the installer. They'll change as we go through the process. This will take quite a few minutes, but it's not that long. If your screen goes black, don't panic. Give your mouse a little wiggle, it's the screensaver. Your computer just felt like having a little rest, but just wiggle your mouse and it'll come back. Ta-da! It's done! We're so close now. You're mere moments away from booting into your freshly installed Linux system. Click the Restart Now button. Now you'll be prompted to remove your installation media, so take the memory stick out that has the Linux installer on it. Your computer will reboot itself and start turning back on. If it doesn't and you're sure it's off, just press the power button, and you'll be presented with a login screen. Enter the password that you created during the installer. And here you are, booted into your fully installed Xubuntu 2510 and the wonderful XFCE desktop. Now you can use your computer to do whatever it is you normally do on a computer, but free from the tyranny and unfortunate behaviour of Microsoft. I'm going to imagine you're the most basic Linux user possible. Not in a bad way, but in a beginner way. I'll give you a general, very quick crash course. Software on Linux doesn't generally come from some random stranger's website that you happen to download from the internet in your web browser. Most of your software comes from trusted software repositories, created and maintained by the developers of your Linux distro. It's very common to see the distribution and downloads of software handled by your distribution developer, such as Canonical for Ubuntu. Canonical also have their own way of doing packaging, and so do many others. But the most important part of all of this for a novice user is that you probably want to get software from the software store that either comes with your distro or a software store that you have installed. I'm saying this because to a Windows user, using the software store that comes with your operating system is one of the scariest and most horrible ideas you could possibly have. But on Linux, that's basically how software works. Because, I'll tell you a secret, the software available to you as an Ubuntu user is much better than the piss-weak awful selection and horrific quality of that in the Microsoft Store. Regardless, I truly hope this guide helped you, and that you've managed to get Linux installed and some software installed on top of it. Please subscribe.